Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Colie. Today I'm speaking with Alexi Bracey. Alexi is going to share her story of how cancer led her to happiness. Welcome, Alexi.
Well, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Thanks. I always ask an icebreaker question before we get into it, so this one's the one I made for you. Share a lesson life taught you.
Good question. Lesson life taught me. I would say the more you give, the more you get back in ways that maybe you're not expecting it. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true, too. So tell everybody about
hmm
yourself.
Well, nobody wants to get that phone call, right? And I remember vividly, it was 10 after 9, and the voice at the other end said, "You have cancer. We want to book you for your surgery." So, like, dead silence. I don't know whether it was 5 seconds, 10 seconds longer. And I remember very vividly as I hung up the receiver and said, "Thank you," I was going to beat it.
You
I had no
did.
idea because I didn't know anything about I just knew it. There was just something inside of me that said, "I'm going to beat this." And so this is 25 years ago. So back then, the availability of the internet is not what it is today. So I spent countless hours at bookstores and libraries researching cancer, diet, nutrition. This was totally foreign to me. I had no idea, I knew nothing about it. And without medical intervention, I was cancer free in a year's time. I made a few lifestyle changes, and it sort of changed the trajectory of my life because I was a traditional chef. So at that time, I embraced the raw food concept because it was a hot item that had just come up the coast from California. And other lifestyle changes. And then people said, "Well, how did you do it? Can you show me?" And so I continued to take various studies in the holistic health capacity. And at the same time, I started coaching people on their health with their health challenges, and I started teaching classes, food classes. At that time, it was raw food classes. Because being a traditional chef, I mean, what's the difference between cooked food or raw food? It's just one is cooked, one, you still have to chop it and everything else. And then I used to freelance as a chef in the summers at different fishing lodges. The more remote, the better, because I really love that serenity. You didn't see the skylights, the traffic. You didn't hear the traffic. Cappuccino wasn't down the walkway. No, like it was just beautiful. And at one particular lodge, I was there for 4 summers. And so at this lodge, 90% of their guests were returning visitors that are now bringing their grandsons. So they've been
Oh,
coming a lot of years.
yeah.
And so I used to go and talk to them during their dinner time. Well, what am I going to talk to them about? Certainly not fishing. And so I started telling jokes. And so when I come back the next year, because most of these guests were repeats, they go, "Oh, Alexi, you're back. Do you have more jokes?" So this went on for four summers. And I started accumulating a lot of jokes. They had to be clean. And I realized that I was really good at it. And then another unfortunate incident where, through a no fault accident that affected my balance, I fell and broke my femur, which ended my career as a chef.
Oh, wow.
So, what am I going to do? I like the telling joke concept of it, but I certainly didn't want to be a stand up comedian. And so, long story short, when I learned that bringing joy was one of my values, I thought, okay, how am I going to utilize this? So I was accepted at the Happy for No Reason training program, which was a perfect fit for me. So now I teach people, there's all sorts of things you can be happy for, even negative things.
Yeah.
There's a cloud behind it, and you learn something. With all due respect, the mother that lost her daughter to drunk driving, she started mad, and look what kind of impact it's having on the planet. Like
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve says, the last 4 years of his life were the most satisfying because of the research he did on spinal injury and how it affected and helped many people. So for me, cancer led me to happiness in a roundabout way, but I'd still be flipping beetle burgers on some beach in Cancun if I wasn't doing what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
so my primary focus is everybody is is has trauma or grief loss in their life. I mean, everybody on the planet, and we all suffer from trauma to various degrees, which stems way back from childhood. And so, we're in a society where 80% of our conversations and thoughts every day are negative. We're always complaining about this, complaining about that. So, my mandate is to show people, number one, stop that habit, and number two, how you can show kindness or gratitude or bring joy to people's lives to make an impact. You know, um, you just never know what a smile will do for somebody. Maybe that person was thinking of ending their life that next day. Maybe they just lost a loved one. Maybe they just received a diagnosis and somebody that said something kind to them or help them with their groceries or whatever. There's all sorts of little things we can do because you never know how you're going to impact the person. You may not get a thank you or accolades or anything. Like even buying a cup of coffee at somebody in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Bringing a meal to a homeless person. Don't judge them.
Yeah.
Everybody has things that happen in their life and it changes their circumstances. So, I have a reputation for approaching strangers at the dog park, at the grocery store, at the ATM machine, and I share a joke. Why a joke? Like I said, because behind every face there is a story of loss, of grief, of trauma. So for 2 minutes, I have a captive audience. They laugh out loud, but more importantly, it lowers their cortisol. It raises the endorphins of feel good hormones in your brain, and laughter has been shown to promote longevity. And then the guy goes home and he says to his wife, I met this crazy woman at the dog park. She shared a joke, but it was really good. And so the story continues. So,
Yeah.
laughter is great. Random acts of kindness, showing gratitude, a smile, like, smile at a stranger. It may start a conversation and really end on a note where you acknowledge their presence, compliment them about something, because in turn, they feel acknowledged and you have a smile in your heart.
Yeah.
If you want to make people happy, show gratitude. That's the bottom line.
That's so true. That's so, so true. So when you were diagnosed, did you know you were not going to take the traditional chemotherapy path?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. There was not an option for me. I would never entertain that. You see, prior to being a chef, I was a lab technologist, so I know how to read lab reports a little better than the average person. So when you get your lab results from the doctor and he says, "Oh, everything's normal," to me, normal is not acceptable. I want to know what the results are because I want optimum. Most
Mm.
people don't understand that, because if the doctor says normal, then I guess it's okay. And I just know what things go on in hospitals. I mean, it's another money-making machine. What can I say? I mean, yes,
Yeah,
it has saved lives. There's no doubt about that. But I wasn't prepared to do anything like that. Like it was just there was no thought never entered my mind.
I love that. I love that. So when you were choosing the path of eating healthier and doing things for your body, how much of that was food, mindset, or both?
Well, actually, it was another thing that's really key is environmental toxins, like toxins in the home. And
Mm,
it's been suggested and actually proven scientifically that an umbilical cord contains something like 200 toxins when it's born, and it gets it from the mother.
mhm.
So it's the environmental toxins that are a key player in the water we drink, the toiletries we use, the cleaning products we use, the bedding we sleep on, the paint we use, going to bed with Wi-Fi. Environmental toxins are really very paramount, and in that is also included the food that is sprayed with glyphosate, which is a leading cause of cancer, and other contributing to other diseases. So I suggest that people learn to identify these toxins. Like, read your labels so you know if you can't pronounce it or you don't know what it is, you better do your research.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Yeah, and
because
it's not just
you know.
cancer. I mean, Alzheimer's, all types of things are caused by the things we can't
Oh,
pronounce.
absolutely.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Like for example, um, uh, phthalates. No, no, not phthalates. PBS is one of the key ingredients in shampoo, which is gives it that foaming action. Very toxic. Most people don't know that. And there's a lot of greenwashing on the labels. When they say natural, what does natural mean? Like
Yeah.
natural flavors. If it's natural flavors, itemize them. You know, and sugar is not the same thing as fructose, as sorbitol, as xylitol. You know, like really you have to learn, educate yourself how to read labels and identify which things should be in there or shouldn't be on there because you're dosing your body with all these toxins every single day.
Yeah. And some
So
people would
mindset played a big role. No, I'm
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, and some people would say too to like eat clean or be more healthy or go back to a simpler way is more expensive. Do you think that that's true or do you think that's something we just think?
Well, it could be to some degree, but then on the flip side is if you get sick, what are your medical bills going to be?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's going to eat up what you maybe um, saved on buying non-traditional or your traditional food and not organic. And you're going
Yeah.
to feel better anyway. And then, support the local farmers, the local, and then have your own garden in the summertime. I mean, it's a great project for not just for yourself, it could be in your neighborhood or your children. And if you live in an apartment, you can have a garden on your balcony.
Yeah. That's
There's
so
always ways to do it. There's never an excuse. If you really want to do it, you'll find a way.
yeah. And you were doing it 25 years ago when it was probably less accessible.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. So, it's over the years I've accumulated more knowledge because, 25 years ago, we didn't live in an environment that's as toxic as it is today.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And because you were diagnosed with cancer once, how great is the fear for you that you can contract it again because of all the toxins we have and now you're exposed to?
Well, because I'm so aware of it, the thought never enters my mind. I mean, it just never enters my mind. And I take all the precautions and eat the right food, get the right supplements. And supplements is another thing. Um, Not all supplements are created equal. Like the saying goes, you pay what you get for. I mean, you get
Mm,
what you pay for. Well, I mean, don't get
absolutely.
your supplements at Walmart or at Costco. There's certain brands that your naturopath would never prescribe for you. And so there's sites online where you can go and deter and find out which are the ones that the holistic practitioners would recommend. And again, there's a lot of fillers in there, and there's a lot of colorings and just thickeners. So again, it's being educated.
Yeah, that's so true because I was looking into collagen peptides and
Oh yeah, okay.
a lady that I knew said, "You have to watch because there's a lot of things that they put filler in there." And I was like, "What? Really? In collagen
Hmm.
peptides?" So, yeah, you're right. You have to really be able to shop around and know what you're getting is legit.
That's right.
Do you
Yeah,
feel that
exactly.
if people paid more attention to the things that they were eating, the types of supplements they were using, and the toxins that they were allowing to go into their body could be preventative measures for cancer?
Absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You know, um, there's a lot of summits that have been out now teaching people about all these toxins and different modalities you can use to support good health. So, bottom line is about being educated. The saying goes that if you go to see your doctor and he doesn't ask you about your diet or your lifestyle, he's not a doctor, pedal. He's a drug dealer.
Yeah. I feel that same way because I think I don't know, I grew up, I'm a Gen Z, I was born in the 70s, I went to the doctors in the 80s, and there was a process. So before you could be put on medication, you had to go through a process. And that process was, are you getting enough of your vitamins and minerals? Are you eating enough of these things in your diet? I don't feel like doctors ask that anymore.
Well, because they're not taught that in school either.
Yeah.
They get very little nutritional training. That started way back with the Pfizer report, way back in 1917. So most doctors will say, "Well, we never got any training. I don't know about vitamins or what food to eat, or they just don't know. All they know is to diagnose and give you a pill or book you for surgery, not to negate that sometimes surgery needed. But,
Yeah.
sometimes, like in my circumstance, I didn't need the surgery because I took other steps to prevent that.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are doing the same thing with diabetes. They're taking, instead of taking the insulin and doing that, they're changing the way they eat and finding good
That's right.
results.
And that's right. And diabetes can be reversed. It's been proven over and over again.
Yeah. So for people who are out there and they want change, they want to make those changes, where can they find education so that they can know that what they're doing and the steps that they're taking is going to actually help them?
Well, there's functional medicine practitioners out there, which have gotten additional training um, besides medical school. And then there's a lot of respected holistic doctors out there, like Wendy Myers or um, I can't, who else? Dr. Axe, Dr. Mercola, um, Dr. Perlman. I could list another dozen, but the names just escape me. So just Google holistic practitioners or holistic doctors or Cleveland's House or Lancet medical journals for for the research that's been done and the doctors that are part of it. So the information is out there. It's about you taking the time and commitment to do the research
Yeah.
because you're going to hand it down to your children as well and your family and your friends.
Yeah. And you said that you ate raw primarily. So it's not a matter of knowing how to cook or knowing how to prepare, just knowing how to wash, cut, and present it, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I'm plant based now. I don't do as much raw as I used to because when I lived in Vancouver, raw food was no problem in the wintertime. But when I'm in Ontario now, so when it's minus 20 degrees out, you want a hot bowl of soup, not a cold bowl of soup. So,
Yeah.
but I have a raw smoothie. I have a raw smoothie for breakfast every morning. I've been doing it for 25 years. And I'd say probably at least half, if not more, of my diet is still raw because I'm just used to it and I really enjoy it. Like I sprout lentils and I have a lentil salad or marinated vegetable salad. Um, I dehydrate a lot of items as well. So, I'm used to it. What can I say? I mean, I wouldn't ever think of going back because I feel good. I don't have any health concerns or I have the energy. I'm not on any meds. I don't have blood pressure issues. It's just but I've been doing it for 25 years. So,
Yeah. Do you have a cookbook?
no, I don't.
You
No.
need one, and I'll buy it.
Yes, I know. I know.
Honestly,
Yeah.
because it's
Um,
daunting for somebody who wants to. I want to be able, my goal
that's
is
very
to
true.
live, yeah, my goal is to live to be 100 healthy. In this world, the way it
Exactly.
is, yeah, and the way it is with, like you said, the exposures and all the things, it looks like it's gonna be tough, and so to have somebody's work that actually worked for them to look towards, it kind of gives me hope.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to teach this at the Holistic School of Nutrition, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, food for thought. Put my own book together. Yeah,
Or even
on
have a
my
virtual master class where you're doing it kind of like you're talking to me right now. I mean, it's much needed and people are looking for that, especially to hear somebody say cancer brought me happiness. You don't hear that much,
right.
if at all.
No, you don't because I mean, it certainly changed the direction of my life. I mean, I would have never believed 25 years ago, like I said, that I'd be teaching about happiness because back then I was the shy, introverted chef that hardly spoke to people because I was spent so much time in the kitchen. Whereas now I'm up on stages and doing blogs and summits, and I mean, it's just so different, just totally, totally different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I'm glad somebody's out there talking about happiness because Lord knows we need that in this world.
Oh, absolutely. Like for example, like I mentioned that we spend so much time complaining. Just to illustrate, a 4-year-old little girl goes for ice cream and cookies for with a drive on it with her grandfather on Sunday afternoon drives. And so one particular Sunday afternoon, he's sick in bed. So he asks Grandma to take the little girl. So off the two of them go. They come back in a couple hours, and she goes running up to Grandpa's room, who's still sick in bed. And he says, "And so how was that?" And she says, "Well, we didn't see any horses, asses, sons of bitches, or tree huggers. All Grandma did was wave and smile. It was really boring." So, as cute as it is, it's not, because already at a young age, she's being taught to look for the negative.
So true. Here I'm laughing because it's
Yeah,
comical,
but
but
it
really
is funny. It is funny,
it is
but
funny.
it's not
If
really,
you right, if
because
you
she
look
doesn't
deep.
know it. She's going to grow up not knowing any different.
Yeah, that's
Because I
so
mean,
true.
I say to people, did you grow up with somebody in your life that was happy? Was it a parent? Was it a grandparent? Maybe a favorite teacher? Maybe an uncle? And most people don't have anybody that they remember they grew up with that they were always happy. You know,
Yeah.
we just, it seems that over, I don't know, 50 years, more years, people have seemed to be struggling. The wars came into play, and then COVID really did a number on people. Um, but, always find a little nugget and share and do a kind act for somebody else, because it'll make their day and it'll certainly feed your soul. Um, it just, you never know who you can impact with a smile, with holding the door open, with helping with the groceries, um, you know, taking the shopping cart back,
Yeah.
visiting seniors in your neighborhood once a week and saying, just checking in to see, hi, how you doing? If you've got kids, get them to cut the neighbors' lawns. With an impending ice storm, raise the windshield wipers up on people's uh, cars. There's just all sorts of little things you can do, and you don't need to do them to get recognition. You just do it out of the kindness of your heart, because it really makes you feel good. What can I say?
Yeah, and you know what? When you're doing it just to be kind and just to show just because that's your personality, a lot of times that's when you get that recognition. But if you go into it looking for recognition, you're going to come out
Hmm.
disappointed.
Yeah, like for example, um, about 6 months ago or so, I have two dogs, and so I lived in a high rise, and um, I go outside to take my dogs to the park for a walk, and there was a young man always standing there having a cigarette. So I befriended him, and he had come from the Philippines to look after his brother who was suffering from cancer. Like he would take him for doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And so I'd see him every few weeks, and we'd strike up a conversation for like maybe 10 minutes or whatever. And then one day he said to me, he said that his brother had died, and there was a reception at the funeral home down the street in a couple of weeks. And when I go, and I said, well, yeah, absolutely. And so I made my way to the funeral home. The chapel was filled with about 30 Filipino women. I made my way up to my friend. He took me up to the casket. I had never met his brother. And he told me that they're waiting to ship his brother's body and the casket back to the Philippines so he could be buried, because his mother couldn't come to Canada for the burial. And so we
Oh,
exchanged a few words, and then I left. And several weeks later, I'm walking down the street, and this young Filipino woman comes up to me and she says, "Didn't you go to so and so's funeral a few weeks ago?" I said, "Yes, I did." And she says, "You have no idea how you impacted our community by showing up." I
yeah.
was so touched,
Yeah.
you know,
And that was not
I
your
just
intention.
so touched.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't at all. But it's something I'll cherish forever. I tell you, just that I made such an impact. So like you can do things that you'll never know about, and how it impacted you. Like you just never know.
So true. That is so, so true. How do we get to a place where we can spread more happiness?
Well, number one, each day I suggest hug yourself for 1 minute at least. Like physically, put your arms around you, hug yourself, and praise yourself for the things you have done, the things you're planning to do, any small niceties, um, having a warm bed, being grateful for where you live, that you have food. for a minute every single day. And each day you have to hug yourself for something different. And also a gratitude journal every single night. Write down three things you're grateful for, and they cannot repeat. And you will be
Mm,
amazed at things we take for granted, that when we show gratitude, it makes us feel good too. And who knows how the other person reacted that maybe was the recipient. Like you just never know. Like, for example, I've got two dogs and they get a lot of attention, and people are petting the dogs and they go, "Oh, your dogs are so beautiful." And I say, "It runs in the family." So it makes them laugh.
yeah.
Just put a little smile in their heart. And then maybe the next time they'll see the dogs, they'll go, "Oh, that's the lady that, blah, blah, blah." So, like little things you just don't know how they will impact another person. You just never know.
Yeah, that's so true. And you know what I think is really interesting is that you're bringing jokes and smiles to people, but you said you are introverted.
Oh, I was. I tell you, when I started my catering business, and I would do presentations in high rises in boardrooms, I thought, what am I doing here? Like to speak to people because I was trying to get them to buy my luncheon program. I mean, that was so foreign to me. And then as the years progressed, I started taking public speaking classes and just became more confident. But I mean, totally new to me, like just the concept, like never in a million years would I ever think that what I'm doing today, speaking to many people on stages and impacting lives that way, like holy tamale, I was happy just to be in my little kitchen doing my whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome. That goes to show that you're not necessarily what you label yourself as, like you said, introverted. That doesn't necessarily mean that that has to be your entire life. You can
No,
make
that's right.
those changes.
That's right. Exactly.
So, what does the future have for you, Alexi?
Well, definitely a TED Talk, um,
Ooh.
several books, and I want to get on more stages and be known as an authority, a well-respected authority in um, happiness habits that everybody can embrace for a brighter, happier future, especially our youth, because
Mhm.
there's so much anxiety, depression, and suicide among them. And, they're lacking self esteem and self confidence. And unfortunately, social skills are no longer taught in schools, so it comes down to parents. And parents are busy. It's not an excuse, but they're still busy. Some of them have two jobs, maybe single moms. Um, so, where do they learn how to be more self confident and have self worth and self esteem? So that I'm introducing those programs to parents right now because it's badly needed. Because everybody can use it. Everybody can be a little bit more self confident and have a little bit more self worth.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you're targeting those kids because I have 7 kids, so they range
Oh my
from
lord!
yeah, they range from almost 30 to 18. And one of my children and I were having a conversation around Christmas. Now, Dahlonega is known as the Christmas town. And even for a Christmas town, there's parts of it where it's not decorated. It's only decorated where it needs to be, but not so much on the outskirts. I came from a time when the entire towns, every house was always decorated, even out in the country. So you could go driving and look at lights. And I was commenting to my daughter, it's sad that those decorating traditions are kind of going away as as time goes on.
Hmm.
It's not as intense as when I was growing up, and I feel bad for you. And she made a comment that I can't remember exactly how she put it, but she said, "We're just trying to get through it, mom." That's probably why people aren't
Mm-hmm.
as into it anymore because they're just trying to get through it. I don't want life to be something my kids feel they need to get through.
Wow, that's a good line for. I do daily short videos, um, so this is a good topic.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
trying to
take
get through
it.
it.
I would love and, tag me in it when you do it if you're on Facebook, because, yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to listen because it's so true. The youth needs to know that happiness is it exists. And the world can be
Yeah, I
kind.
know. We've sort yeah, we've just forgotten about it, you know, so wrapped up in their little cocoon, I guess you could say, and you know, scared to look at the neighbor because they may react or whatever. But you know, one step at a time, and you know, get your neighbor involved, get the other neighbor involved, get you know the community center involved. You know, get your kids involved to do volunteer work. Everybody can start just little steps at a time. You know, show a little praise and concern and respect for one another, because we all are on this earth plane fighting our own demons, and you know, a little happiness goes a long way, and you never know how you're going to impact a person. Just like you know, at the funeral, like I just said, you just never know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And imagine just those conversations that you were having with the brother throughout the journey as he's watching his brother succumb to cancer. That little everyday conversation probably helped him as he was going through his experience.
Yeah, I called it. I said, "You're call me your aunt," you know, because I mean, I was definitely a lot older than him, but he had a sounding board. That's the bottom line, you know.
Yeah. And what a good sounding board, somebody who had been through it.
Well, yeah, that's true. Very true. So, you know, um, synchronicities, they happen for a reason, you know? So
Yeah.
you don't know what's on your plate down the road, and a lot of it is meant to be. It's not, oh, by chance. It's meant to be, you know, and there's somebody upstairs there that's orchestrating all this.
I agree. I agree. So, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Okay, well, a great way to start your day is on a happy note. Okay, so there is a site called Positive Prime, and it was started by a woman out of Australia, but based on the teachings of Sean Akers, who was a is a happiness expert. He was affiliated with Harvard, doing research on happiness for like 8 or 9 years. And his book has written. The book he's got is The Happiness Advantage, and he's got a really good TED talk on happiness. And he says that people think that when they get the car and the boat and the vacation and the money, they're going to be happy. No, it's the other way around. So this Positive Prime site has different categories: relationships, happiness, success, family, whatever. And so each category has probably 10 videos you can choose. The videos are only sound, or I'm sorry, only the videos are only pictures. There's nothing spoken, with subliminal messages sort of posted across. And it's beautiful views, whether it's children playing or celebrating, or a sunrise, or having dinner at the beach, or playing volleyball, whatever. And so you choose your category. And it was suggested that if you, and research proves it, that if you spend uh, 6 minutes at least on any one of these videos each day, it improves your happiness levels, your productivity, and your creativity that lasts 6 to 7 hours per day. So
Oh,
I've got
wow.
a free trial coupon that I'd like to include for 10 days. So you can just watch them for 10 days, whichever one you want, as many times as you want in a given day. And then at the end, if you want to pursue it, then, you know, all the power to you.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Thank you. And a lot of times I don't think we think about how you can just look at a visual picture
Oh, yeah.
with no sound and it can be healthy and good for your brain. I don't
Yeah,
think
because it's always happy pictures or something that puts a smile on your face, whether it's, you know, a sunrise or sunset, or a baby, or playing a game, or laughing, or holding hands. You know, it stimulates that those feel good hormones.
yeah, definitely. So for people who are interested in following you and what you're doing, how do people find you?
Best place is LinkedIn, please. Alexi Bracey on LinkedIn. There's lots of information on there, some resources, how you contact me, what I'm up to. And I post videos, like a 1 minute video on LinkedIn and Facebook every day, something inspirational. Not necessarily for kids, it could be for adults. Like, for example, one day I suggested, instead of saying have a good day, what does a have a good day mean? Like, that's so vanilla. Does that
Yeah.
mean does that mean don't spill your coffee, or I hope, something embarrassing happens? Whereas, hope your day is happier and healthier than the day before.
Ooh.
Or put a smile on somebody's face. May I suggest you buy the barista a coffee? Share a joke. It just gives people something to think about instead of the generic have a good day.
So true. So true. And you know what? I do that vanilla crap.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, because we're just conditioned to it. That's all people know how to say.
Yeah.
Like, even when you're, interacting with somebody on social media, the comment at the very end is always have a good day. Well, I always say, may your day be filled with miracles. May your day be filled with golden opportunities. May your day be filled with love, kindness, joy, and peace in your heart. I always add it more personal, and
Yeah.
then always use the person's name at the end. It just makes it more personal.
Yeah. And do you find by operating that way, you get it reflected back in some way?
Oh, yeah, and people go, "Oh, thanks, because I caught them off guard,"
Yeah.
and then hopefully they're paying it forward, you
Yeah.
know?
That's a great lesson. Can you tell us a joke?
Absolutely. So let me think here. Oh, um, a young man has a golden retriever puppy, and he wants to teach it how to stay in the car. So he pulls into a busy shopping mall parking lot. He parks the car, rolls down the windows a bit so the puppy can breathe. Puppy sprawled out in the back seat sleeping. And he gets out of the car and he's walking backwards and he says, "Now you stay, you stay." And he turns around, looks over his shoulder, and he sees a blonde driving by with a puzzled look on her face. And she says, "Why don't you just put it in park?"
I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. You do tell good jokes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alexi, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, it's been my utmost pleasure, hopefully, to um, leave some nuggets
Yeah.
um, for people to take change or to share, to inspire. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
And to,
so
and to leave them happy.
yeah. And you left a lot of different nuggets, a little bit about what we can put into our bodies as fuel and what we can put into our minds.
Hmm.
I
That is
like
so important. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, my utmost pleasure. Thank you.